How to make my carrot cake cheesecake. Homemade carrot cake, homemade cheesecake filling, absolutely delicious. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, where today I'm combining two of my favorite things ever, my carrot cake and a no-bake cheesecake into my carrot cake cheesecake. I love it so much, I've already said it. So basically it is a homemade carrot cake that's super easy to put together, a delicious spiced no-bake cheesecake filling, making just, one of my favorite desserts, because why can't you combine cake and cheesecake? But anyway, it's really easy sponge to make, and I'll make sure you get started with the most delicious carrot cake base. When you're making a carrot cake, you don't need to use any butter, so I always use an oil. It tends to either be sunflower oil or vegetable oil because there's basically a tasteless oil. If you use olive oil, you might get a bit of that flavour in the sponge, so it's best to just use a plain one. But then all of the other ingredients are super simple. Obviously, you've got grated carrot, you have some eggs, you have spices. I used mixed spice, ginger and cinnamon, but if you wanted to use a bit more ginger, a bit of nutmeg, that's entirely up to you. I also use some orange extract, but you can use the zest of an orange. I just don't happen to have any with me today. And of course, one of the most controversial ingredients is some raisins. I know a lot of people don't like raisins, but I do. But if you don't want to include them, you can just leave them out. Or you could use a chopped up nut, such as pecans or walnuts, or use both. There's absolutely no rules when it comes to that. You can use whatever you want. When it comes to the dry ingredients, you have some bicarbonate of soda as the raising agent, you have some self-raising flour, and I like to use light brown soft sugar in this recipe because it brings a delicious flavour to your carrot cake. But golden caster sugar, normal caster sugar will work, even dark brown soft sugar if you want a slightly deeper flavour. But luckily, when you make this, you literally just need a bowl and a spatula because it's so easy to mix. I make sure to preheat my oven as well to 160 fan and line an 8-inch springform cake tin for my sponge. So once you've mixed together your oil, your carrots, your eggs and your sugar, you'll have a bit of a weird looking mixture, but trust me, it's meant to look like that. And this is where you add basically the rest of your ingredients. I'm going to add in my raisins and my orange extract, my spices and my flour and bicarb. And you just want to mix it for as little as possible really until it's combined, and then pour into your tin. I don't feel the need to use a mixer for this because it really is that simple to just stir it together. But if you do, just use it on a low speed and try not to over mix it because it really does come together so quickly. It really is that easy just to mix it together. Once your mixture is ready and you've poured it into your lined tin, I tend to use the springform tin, by the way, just because I find it easier to take the cheesecake out at the end. But if you don't have a springform tin and you just have like a loose bottom tin, make sure to line the sides so the cheesecake mix doesn't stick later on. But either way, I'm now going to put this into my preheated oven. I'm going to bake it for about 30 to 35 minutes until it's baked through. You can either test it with a skewer or you can do like the touch test. It should spring back ever so slightly. Or if you're really careful, you can listen for a crackle in the sponge. If it does this, it still needs a couple of minutes of baking, but otherwise, once it's baked, leave it to cool fully in the tin, and then we can make the cheesecake. Once your cake has cooled, you are ready to make the cheesecake filling. Like I've said earlier, I just let this cool in the tin because at the end of the day, you're going to add the cheesecake mix to the tin, so you might as well make sure that the seal is still there by not opening the springform on your tin. But either way, it's now nice and cool. You can see there's enough room for your cheesecake mix, And then yeah, we can just make the world's simplest cheesecake mix for this carrot cake cheesecake. For this one, I actually like to change it up a little bit and use mascarpone cheese because it's naturally sweeter. If you want the more classic tart flavour of a cheesecake, you can use like a Philadelphia, just a full fat soft cheese will work, but I like the mascarpone. And then to carry on with the flavour profile, I've got the orange extract again, ginger, cinnamon and mixed spice, a little sweetness of some icing sugar, and of course, full fat double cream, because for cheesecake, you always need full fat ingredients. But either way, we're just going to whisk it together till nice and thick in the bowl and then spread it over the carrot cake. And then when you add your cream, whisk until really nice and thick. So once your cheesecake tin is nice and full like this, it's ready to set. Of course, I try to smooth mine over as much as possible for the decoration later on, but either way, you're going to need to set your cheesecake in the fridge for at least 5 to 6 hours. Obviously, this is why it's important for the cake to be completely cool first, because if you add a cheesecake mix on top, it's just going to become a gloopy mess. So really be patient if you can, but either way, set it in the fridge. I do it overnight, so it's got longer than 5 to 6 hours. And then of course we can decorate. So of course, once it's ready to set, make sure you do it. And then of course we can decorate and enjoy a giant slice of carrot cake cheesecake. So once your cheesecake is nice and set, I'm just preparing my whipped cream. I always whip the double cream with some icing sugar myself because I find it lasts so much better as decoration. If you use a squirty cream, it's just gonna go bleh, basically, so wouldn't recommend that. But of course, whip your double cream with your icing sugar to soft peaks, grab your piping bag and your favorite piping tip, and then we can decorate once you've taken the cheesecake out of the tin. Once your cheesecake is out of the tin, you can see it's just lovely, thick, smooth, and is set perfectly on top of the sponge. I then just like to swirl on some of my cream with a 2D close style piping tip. And then for me personally, the decoration is some chopped pecan nuts. I love the crunch of the nuts, but of course you can use sprinkles, some biscuit crumbs if you wanted, or just leave it plain, or add some chocolate if you fancy it. It's entirely up to you, but make sure to have a little bit of fun with your decoration. And like I've said before, enjoy a giant slice. That is how you decorate and make my carrot cake cheesecake. It's so simple, so delicious. Make sure to check out the description box below with any useful links to products I've used and the full recipe, of course. And make sure to come back next week for something delicious.